Sorry, side note. Not going to focus on this too much. You need to retap transformers depending on the voltage, input voltage, because I do believe that control voltage being incorrect, either too high or too low, has contributed to some control failures that we've had, or intermittent issues that you face. So always make sure that your technicians know that you do have to retap transformers when you go to 208. Make sense? Now, brings up an interesting question. Should we be bucking down the voltage on the air handler as well? And that's something that we're looking at. Again, there has to be value in it for us to want to do it, but it is something we're looking at right now. With any sort of ductless unit especially, half-baked drain installations are some of the worst cases that we see of damage and issues. One of the biggest things I'm going to focus on here is, if you're in a humid climate, insulate your drains. Insulate your drains going into pumps, insulate your drains going out of pumps, insulate your drains. The next thing is, because don't make excuses for not doing it, because because it doesn't come up that often, but eventually you're going to have mold somewhere if it's just dripping in the attic or wherever it is. So if you're in a humid climate, insulate your drains. Also understand that cassette units, that pump that's in them is a lift pump. It's not the same as like a pressurized pump. It's just lifting the water up high enough that you can then drain it out. You can gravity drain it. So a lot of installers, you may even know that, but your installers may not. So make sure they understand that. You can't go take this and now just run it all the way up somewhere crazy, right? It has to be pitched properly. It has to be strapped properly. I'm a big fan of like proper commercial grade strapping for condensate and copper. We are not good at this yet, but in our residential team. Our commercial team does beautiful work. Everything is strut and clamps and saddles and all that stuff, and it looks beautiful because it has to, right? Once you get kind of addicted to that, and then you see the stuff we do in residential, like, woo, hey, we're going on a trip, it's an area that we can improve. And I would encourage you, if you are routing condensate horizontally over any sort of distance, to actually have a proper strapping strategy, not just relying on nylon straps or one-hole clamps or whatever goofiness they're currently doing. Again, you got to design it. So much about this conference is about design. Design the process for your technicians. Final things. Are we at 5 minutes or less?
About 5.
About 5, okay. Final things. Vacuum is hugely important. Flowing nitrogen is hugely important. The processes to do this are well established and are not difficult. I have training materials. If you go to my app, we have these things we call checklists in there, and it will literally go step by step how we do it at Kalos. You can deploy that to your team. You can print it as a PDF, and you can hand it to your team. Anything you want, everything I do is free on hvacrschool.com and on the app. It's all free, and it's complementary to everything that NCI does. That's why they have me here. We're not in competition. We're helping each other, right? So all of it tries to kind of work with it, but I focus on a lot of these very simple things. Old techs will tell you that you don't have to do this because they never did, right? That's what they'll tell you. And guess what? It's like most things. Alex Meany has this phrase that is amazing. It's like when somebody tells you something, believe them, just don't believe why. Right, so the reason why they didn't have to do this for so long is mineral oil does not strip the oxides off the inside of the tubing. And for their entire career, they were working with mineral oil. And how I know this is when we do a rack retrofit and we go from a mineral oil being the refrigerant in a rack or refrigeration rack, and we go to a POE or PVE or any sort of these modern oils, every screen in the entire store blocks up. Because all of that carbon, all of that oxide that's been built up over all these years, all the brazing that was done when they didn't flow nitrogen, now comes off and goes into all the screens and plugs them up. So modern oil is a solvent. It strips the oxides off. You can't get away with not flowing nitrogen anymore. And it is not hard. It will add probably a net 10 minutes to an install, because you literally have to pull the tank off anyway. Also, don't let them tell you that because they don't have the special regulator, they can't do it. Because you don't, it's nice to have, okay? But all you have to do, teach them how to use the T-handle on their cheap nitrogen regulator, back it out, not all the way out because it'll come off. Back it out, and then just crack it in until you just get a gnat fart of a whisper. You're good. It's flow. That's all you need. Just a tiny, 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 tiny bit of flow. That's it. That'll solve that problem. Vacuum is non-negotiable nowadays, especially if you're in a cold climate, because now any liquid deep vacuums, you can do this so easy now. Use a proper quality modern vacuum pump. It'll pull down, make sure that it pulls below 50 microns, change your oil all the time. Here's, the barrier, reason why most of your techs don't change your oil in their vacuum pumps? That's
all over in the van.
They don't have oil in the truck, that's one reason, but let's say they do have oil in the truck. Let's say you provide them oil. What's the reason they still don't change the oil in the vacuum pump?
They don't remember till it's running.
What's that?
They don't remember till it's running.
They don't remember till it's running, that's one.
They don't know where to get rid of it.
They don't know where to get rid of it. You didn't tell them where to get rid of it. Did you give them an oil pan? And not just like a normal oil pan, because that wouldn't work, it would spill over, but the ones, you know, like that have the thing on top and you just set it in there and you let it loose and then you close it back up and now they got a place to put their old oil. They don't know where to put it when they're done with it after it either. They don't probably know that you can go to Discount Auto Parts or AutoZone or wherever and dump it in the used oil there, and that's not a problem. It's not going to hurt anything, right? They don't know that. So you have to tell them that, and you have to provide them with the place to drain their oil. Otherwise, if they do change it, they're going to drain it on the ground, and that's definitely not good, right? So it's simple stuff like this. The one hose method, one big hose to your suction line, micron gauge on the other side, vacuum pump. Those of you who are taking pictures, that's awesome, but literally if you go to my site, all of this stuff is right, and it's like really pretty. Like it's like all in one little square. Like, you know, we call them 9 panels, 9 steps to success. That's what you do.
Where is?
HVACrschool.com, and also on the free HVAC School app. So if you,
Where are they on? I'm on the website.
if you're on, so with these particular ones, you would just look up, so if you go to the search tab and you just type in vacuum or evacuation, and then scroll down to tech tips, you're gonna find those tech tips and they'll be embedded in those. And there'll be multiple facets that'll teach you how to clean out your micron gauge if it gets oil in it, or it'll teach, you know, just all this stuff, all these processes.
Thank you.
Videos as well. We've got 3D, we do tons of 3D modeled videos that show you like how to do this step by step in 3D. It's all free, it's cool. That's it. Big finale, airflow always matters. Use a scale more to charge. Become masters of the obvious. It's always obvious, stupid stuff that is the reason why your people aren't doing the things they're supposed to be doing. It's not because they don't want to. And if they're making excuses, it's because habits are hard to change. We all make excuses for changing our habits. Be empathetic to that. None of us like to have to change how we do things. When I work on my own air conditioner at my house, I still use analog gauges. Because you know what? Ain't nobody gonna tell me what I gotta do in my own house, gosh darn it. I still like analog gauges, right? And that's fine, people can feel that way, but within the context of your business, you can't let them do things however they want. But you have to be compassionate and make sure that they're making progress in the right direction. Just keep reinforcing it, and when in doubt, lay it out. Spell it out for them. Make it detailed. Don't just say, ground it on one end, ground the shielding on one end. Show them how to do it. Give them a picture of how to do it. Show them how the wrong way to do it is that you saw one time. That kind of stuff. Make sure your installers are sharing pictures of all their work. Make sure that they're documenting everything. Using things like MeasureQuick and those workflows is an amazing way to do it, but also just photos sometimes is a great step in the right direction to getting great results. All right, we're over time. Oh, question?
Just a quick add. We're up in the cold climate heat pump market. We're doing tons of multi-zone whole home heat pumps. Just be real careful on the port style units that you're doing. We're a Mitsubishi contractor, so a diamond system builder. I'm kind of plotting what your actual P2 outputs are going to be on these different heads, because on a port style system, for instance, it's 80% capacity when you connect heads to them. So just do your math, do your due diligence, and just really pay attention.
Yep, for sure. Pay attention to latent and sensible.
Yeah, that too.
And look at, all those derating factors. There's all kinds of derating factors that people don't pay attention to. You'll get guys say, this has to be a 7/8 suction line. Not necessarily. You can maybe sometimes use 3/4, but you got to pay attention to the derating on that. So yeah, all that stuff that's where you guys need to do the RTFM before you expect your folks to do it, right? All right, appreciate y'all. Thank you.